Good morning, everyone. My group and I will talk about the judgment of the Court of The Hague on the maritime delimitation between Chile and Peru. Um, my name is Sebastián Ortiz. Chronology of the procedure. The court recalls that on 16 January 2008, the Republic of Peru filed in the registry of the court an application instituting proceedings against the Republic of Chile in respect of a dispute concerning, on the one hand, the delimitation of the boundary between the maritime zones of the two states in the Pacific Ocean. The terminal points of the land boundary established pursuant to Treaty of 3 June 1929, and, on the other, the recognition in favor of Peru of a maritime zone lying within 2,000 nautical miles of Peru coasts, and which should thus appertain to it, but which Chile considers to be a part of the high seas. Geography. The area between which the delimitation sought is to be carried out lies in the Pacific Ocean. In that region, Peru coast runs in a northwest direction from the starting point of the land boundary between the parties on the Pacific coast, and Chile's generally follows a north-south orientation.
My name is Luciana Escalante. Historical background. Having succinctly recalled the relevant historical facts, the court more specifically observes that the land boundary between Peru and Chile was fixed in the 1929 Treaty of Lima. It also knows that in 1947, both parties unilaterally proclaimed certain maritime right extended 200 nautical miles from their coast. The court there recalls that in subsequent years Chile, Ecuador, and Peru negotiated 12 instruments. The party to the present case makes reference for of them, among which the Declaration of the Maritime Zone, referred to as the Santiago Declaration, were adopted in August 1952 during the Conference of the Exploitation and Conservation of the Marine Resources of the South Pacific. 6 others, including the complementary convention to the Santiago Declaration, the agreement relating to measures of supervision and control in the maritime zone of the signatory countries, and the agreement relating to a special maritime frontier zone were adopted in Lima, December 1954, and finally, two agreements relating to the functioning of the Permanent Commission for the South Pacific were signed in Quito in May 1967.
My name is Angeli Castillo. Positions of the parties. Arguments. Peru argues that no agreed maritime boundary exists between the two countries and asks the court to plot a boundary line using the equidistant method in order to achieve an equitable result. For this part, Chile contends that the 1952 Santiago Declaration established an international maritime boundary along the parallel of latitude facing to the starting point of the Peru-Chile land boundary and extending to a minimum of 200 nautical miles. Peru also argues that beyond the point where the common maritime boundary ends, it is entitled to exercise exclusive sovereign rights over a maritime area lying out to a distance of 200 nautical miles from its baselines. Chile responds that Peru has no entitlement to any maritime zone extending to the south of the parallel latitude along which Chile maintains the international maritime boundary runs.
Against argument 8. The result is usually a winner or loser. In other words, the International Court of Justice will collect one legally and reject another which can have political consequence for both international and external parties. Therefore, it is forcibly the less one on parties is does it fit with the failure which we can cause subject strain. The precedents before the International Courts of Justice were constant and addiction in addition to of national lawyers and consuls. Lawyers special in international law and experience in litigation and also recruit in this court. C. The Honglen appeals to the parts and there is no mandatory present. Article 59 of the Statute of the International Court of Justice. Therefore, unknown the tendency of the International Court of Justice can be determined on certain uses. It can use different solutions in similar disputes. My name is Fernando Luque.
My name is Maria Fernanda Roa. Awarding of areas and right over them. The court did not specify the coordinates of some points, but as seen it in the 9.8, this point is located 80 nautical miles from the nearest Chilean coast in the port of Arica, and 45 nautical miles from the nearest Peruvian coast, that is, the port of Hilo, in the department of Moquegua. Nor did he specify the coordinates of point B and C.
My name is Melissa Escobedo. The court concludes that the maritime boundary between the parties starts at the intersection of the parallel of latitude, passing through boundary marker number 1, while the low waterline and extends for 80 nautical miles along that parallel miles along that of latitude point A. From this point, the maritime boundary runs along line equidistant line to point B, and then along the 200 nautical mile limit measured from the Chile baselines to point C.
Good evening, teacher. I am Gonzalo Mejia Vargas, and my conclusion is an evaluation of the sentence beyond a favorable result for a good part of what was demanded by Peru, lead us to be critical of an important part of the legal reasoning followed by the court, especially with the rigors to establishing the existence of the tactic agreement of maritime delimitation, the date of which was not possible precise, and to be located sometimes between 1952 and 1954, as well as in the determination of the extension of said maritime boundary, without a legal argument conveniently created for it, in placing it at the distance of 80 nautical miles. It is equally debatable that, having chosen a parallel line for the determination of the maritime boundary, the point of Concordia was not chosen, so that the starting point of the maritime boundary coincided with the starting point of land border, generating an area of dry coast that, although legally feasible moves away from the desirable by separating in the law what is in reality forms and all indivisible. However, beyond this, which undoubtedly legitimate the sentence, has had a virtue and ending a dispute and the parties, in good faith, have given prompt executions of the provisions of the court, definitively closing a chapter in the history of the definition of the borders.